Hey, good morning, everyone. Happy Monday morning to you, and welcome back to Morning Musings. My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. We are currently involved in a study of the 70 weeks of Daniel chapter 9. We are particularly focused at this time on the question of whether or not during the 70th week. Now, I've already discussed the fact that the dispensational view of a 2,000-year postponement between the 69th and the 70th week is simply unscriptural. Jesus knew of no such gap, no such postponement, no such delay. But Jesus, Messiah, was to be cut off after the 69th week. That means it is squarely and firmly in the 70th week. And the text tells us that the 70 weeks were determined for your people and for your city. Now, it's somewhat amazing to me that so many people try to separate the actual fate of the people and the city outside the 70th week by positing the fulfillment of the 70 weeks, the end of it, in 34-35 AD. And yet the text is emphatically clear. 70 weeks are determined on your people and on your city. The text does not say 70 weeks are determined to determine the fate of the city. The fate of the city is right there in Daniel chapter 9, verse 26 and 27. The people of the prince who shall come shall destroy the city and the tabernacle, or the sanctuary. There's the fate of the city and the people that belongs within the 70 weeks. Now, I suggested to you last Thursday in our video that in order to put the fulfillment of the 70 weeks at 34-35 AD, point number one, what you absolutely must be able to do is to show that the festal calendar does not underlie Daniel chapter 9. But I've already shared with you that there are 4 distinct references to the feast days in Daniel chapter 9. I won't repeat that here. Secondly, if you posit the fulfillment, the end of the 70 weeks at 34-35 AD, then you have to have the atonement consummated in 34-35 AD. Now, I understand very well that many people believe that the atonement was finished at the cross. That won't work. According to Leviticus 9, 22 and 23, it was not until the high priest came out of the most holy place that the blessing of atonement could be given, period. The praxis, the 3 distinct elements of the Day of Atonement, the sacrifice, entering into the most holy place, the coming out of the most holy place, were all viewed as a singular action, a singular unity. So when you posit the end of the 70 weeks, which included 70 weeks are determined to make the atonement, then of logical necessity, of textual necessity, you must have the coming of Christ out of the most holy place to consummate the atonement, 34-35 AD. But that doesn't work because Hebrews 9:28 was anticipating the coming of the Lord out of the most holy place, His appearing to bring salvation. Thirdly, in order to have the festal calendar and Daniel 9 fulfilled in 34-35 AD, you therefore have to separate the atonement from Rosh Hashanah and Sukkot. And yet in the Jewish calendar, guess what? Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, comes after the judgment and before Sukkot. So once again, if you try to put the end of the 70 weeks in 34-35 AD, then of logical necessity, of textual necessity, you must have the judgment first. Well, guess what? The judgment was not in 34-35 AD. The New Testament writers were looking for the judgment at the sounding of the great trumpet, which was Rosh Hashanah, in their future. Therefore, they were looking for the consummation of the atonement in their future. Just as they were looking for, guess what? The resurrection in their future. So, in order to put the end of the 70 weeks in 3435 AD, you have to take the judgment which the New Testament writers were putting in their future, and you have to put it at 3435 AD. That doesn't work. You have to take the resurrection, which the New Testament writers were putting in their future, and put it in 3435 AD. Those last three feast days cannot be separated. Now, I understand that this is a little bit repetitious, but this is absolutely critical to understand the organic unity of the feast days. It is simply untenable. It's not workable. It's not historical. And it's not biblical to say the last three feast days were fulfilled in 3435 AD. Let me reiterate. You must be able to show, number one, that the feast days do not underlie Daniel 9, but they are there. 4 elements, 4 references. Number two, you must be able to demonstrate that one of the last three, which sat right between the first and the last of the last three, you must be able to demonstrate that that one was fulfilled, but not the last two. That's anachronistic. It destroys the harmony and the unity between the last three feast days. There is simply no proper way to say that the atonement was completed in AD 34, 35 AD, without destroying the rest of the festal calendar, without destroying the chronological flow of the feast days, and making anachronistic applications. Now, with that recap, with that reiteration, and with that emphasis, and you know, I've got to tell you, this has got to be dealt with by anyone that wants to put the completion of the feast days and the completion of Daniel 9 at 34 or 35 AD. I cannot overemphasize how critical it is. These points are to anyone wishing to say that the 70 weeks ended in 34, 35 AD. What will you do with Rosh Hashanah? What will you do with Sukkot? Because both of those are right there in Daniel 9. Rosh Hashanah is there in the judgment of Jerusalem. The resurrection, Sukkot, is right there in the text. 70 weeks are determined to bring in everlasting righteousness. And we're headed toward a discussion of that. But as I promised you last Thursday, on the flip side now, I'm going to share with you from the book of Revelation how the book of Revelation posits the imminent fulfillment of the atonement. Now, wait a minute. If Revelation puts the imminent fulfillment of the atonement in its immediate, imminent future, pardon me, that means, that demands irrefutably that the 70 weeks were not fulfilled in AD 34 or 35. It means without a doubt that the Day of Atonement was to be fulfilled in the imminent future of the book of Revelation. And we will get to that on the flip side. In the meantime, hey, get yourself a copy of my book, Who Is This Babylon?, in which I discuss the very things that I'm going to share with you tomorrow, and perhaps on Wednesday, depending on how it goes. Okay? Go to my website, donkpreston.com, bibleprophecy.com, and order the book, Who Is This Babylon? Be sure to send me a note saying you saw the offer on YouTube or Facebook, and I'll refund your shipping. And be watching, because tomorrow I'm going to make an absolutely fantastic offer on a couple of books, a book package to deal with the things that we're dealing with in these videos. Okay? All right. We will see you on the flip side.